Hi. In this video I'm going to show you how you use some of the standard features of Umbraco. So quickly we'll show you how to use the rich text editor and how to use the standard properties that come with all pages. So as you can see, here we're logged into an Umbraco with the default opening welcome page. You can see all the websites you have available here, so ACC, Echo Arena and Exhibition Centre Liverpool. We also have our repositories, which we use to store content that's used across all three sites, and the recycle bin where pages that get deleted go. We also have here three different sections. So the content section, this is where your pages are stored. The media section, which is where all your files and images are stored, and the members section, which stores members who can access the website from external logins. What I'm going to show you now is how to use the rich text editor and the standard properties. So what we'll do is we'll create quickly a new page in Umbraco. We do this by right-clicking the parent page where you want to create it and selecting create. So I'm just going to call this test page. When we've created a page, you'll see that it appears here. Now, every page will have some standard properties that are common across all the pages. So quickly I'm going to outline what these are. Okay, so here we have the name of the page, which is the one you just entered then, as you can see, the test page. We've got who the page was created by originally, in this case demo user, which is the demonstration user I've created just for this purpose, the date and time it was created, a unique ID for the page, so each page has a unique number, the type of the page, in this case I've just created an article, but in some cases this might be an event or a news post or a blog or something like that. The template used to display the page. Now most pages will only have one type of template, but some pages may have more than one. In this case the article has a standard article template and also a one column version. So this doesn't change the content, it merely changes the way the content is laid out. We have the publication status of the article we just created. In this case you can see it's not published because I haven't yet clicked save and publish. We've got options to choose a future publication date, so if you wanted the page to be published at a future date, you would select the date and the time you wish that to be done, and that would do that. You can also remove a page by setting the date as well, and again that will unpublish the date. You have the link to the document. Because the page is not published yet, this doesn't actually happen yet, but we'll show you that in a minute. And we have these options. So first option is to hide the page from the navigation. So that means once we've created the page will exist, it'll have a URL, but it won't actually appear in any of the main navigation menus. Hide from the sitemap. So this means there is a page that lists every page in the website. Now you may not want this page to appear in that, therefore you can click hide from sitemap and that will hide it. And disable deletion. All this does is make this page difficult to delete. So once this is ticked, you won't be able to easily delete this page without unticking it. An icon. Now the icon is really used in certain sections, so even though you might see this on every page, only certain pages will use an icon. For instance, if we quickly look over here, you can see the organising an event page, and you can see that each section of that page has an icon. Well, this is where you would select an icon, and to select an icon you can simply click it. But as I say, that icon may not be used. There's also one further option which is called hiding listing. For pages that present a list of pages, for instance a list of events or a list of news articles, you can click hiding listing. It's similar to hiding navigation, apart from this actually hides the page from any listing pages. Okay, so that's the main properties, and you'll find these across all pages in Umbraco. Next we have what we call the SEO settings. SEO stands for Search Engine Optimization. Generally you wouldn't touch this page because what happens under the scenes is Umbraco will generate sensible defaults for all these values. So for instance, you don't need to enter a meta title or a description because Umbraco will generate one automatically from your page's content. However, if you really wish to, you can override these. So The meta title really is the title that is shown in the browser's title bar. The meta description is a short summary of the page. Again, if you leave it blank, this will be generated. Keywords are keywords associated with the page. These are also used by the internal search. So for instance, you might create apple, orange, if you happen to be creating a fruit related page. The meta robots is a directive to what we call robots. Now robots are really search engines, so things like Google or Bing or Yahoo, and this tells them whether to index the page in your content and whether to also follow links in your content. Generally, again, you want to leave this at the default, which is turned off. But if you really want to, you can override this. So for instance, if you wanted a page not to be indexed by Google, but for links to be followed in that page, then you chose no index and follow. When you do this, it also means the page isn't indexed by the internal search either. The link rel isn't really something that is used, so you don't need to worry about that. The URL alias, this allows you to create a short, pithy URL for the page. So for instance, you might want to just call this test, and that means you'll then be able to go to your website and go /test, and that'll display the page. The canonical link is a unique link. Again, I'd advise leaving this blank because Umbraco generates it. The custom script area allows you to paste in some custom JavaScript that appears just on this page. Again, unless you know what you're doing, this is best left. Okay, so that's all the SEO settings. As I say, generally you don't need to touch these because these are generated. The next tab we have is the styling. This allows you to override some of the primary styling of the page. Again, this is not something you should normally do, but for special pages you may wish to do so. So what you can see is you can choose 3 different colours using a colour picker. So you can kind of click in there, choose the colour you like using the standard tools, and it'll then use that colour for the primary colour. You can also choose a background image from the media library, which will then be displayed on the page. I'll show you a bit more about the media library in a while. The next tab is the sponsors tab. Again, normally this is something you don't touch because the sponsors tab actually inherits the sponsors from the parent page. So if you don't change anything, it will just show the default sponsors. However, you can override this. Just to show an example of what a sponsor is, if you look at the bottom of the page here, you'll see 4 sponsor logos, and these are what these are. So if you want to override these sponsor logos, you can choose some new ones here. Primary logos or secondary logos here. Again, in most cases you won't do this, so I'd advise leaving this as is. The social tab contains information for social networks and also for contact details for the site. Again, these are inherited, so generally you would leave this and you'll use the standard ones. But if you wish to override these on a page basis, then you can do so. So if we look at, for instance, a page, you can see there's a phone number, maybe a Twitter feed using a Twitter user. And what you can do in here is override that phone number. You can even hide it by ticking this box. You can change the Twitter username who tweets are pulled in for. So for instance, you might use this on an event to pull in tweets just for a particular user. There's a Facebook app ID. I'd advise leaving this blank unless you know what you're doing. There's an option also to hide the social bar. The social bar is the sharing bar you can see here. So if you tick this option, it will actually disable that. Here we've got something called the carousel, which is really the destinations. So if we go to a page that has those, for instance, the visiting us page, you can see here that this is where those carousels have come from. Now again, like all the other ones, it inherits, so you only need to really change this if you're actually overriding the default ones. So again, I'd advise doing that, but if you wish to have unique destination sets, then you can do so. You can also change the heading, subheading and text, which is shown before the carousel, which are these elements here. The parent summary tab is something you'll see on some pages that Generally these are pages that appear in listings, so what you see on the parent summary is actually what is shown in the listing. So you can, for instance, in the listing you can choose a large image, you can generate a summary, which is a short snippet of text that's shown in the listing. Again, by default this is automatically generated, but you can override this. For some types of pages you can choose images or video. Okay, so I think that takes us through the standard properties.